And it's doing the live stream. It's preparing. Takes forever. And redirecting us. All righty. There we go.
All right.
So I want to say welcome to Conversations with Javon.
Hello, Devon. How are you?
All right, all right. I'm doing good, and I want to thank you for agreeing to do this. This is about you. We want to know who is Latravious.
Okay, I can't wait to tell you.
Do you hear an echo?
No.
Okay, I hear an echo. I hear an echo on my end, but okay.
Well, let me see if I could.
I think it's me.
Is that better?
I think it's me. I don't think it's you.
Okay.
All right, no worries. As long as you don't hear it, we get to go.
All right. I don't hear it.
Okay, so no, don't worry about it. It's only on my end, so we good. Uh, let me see if I can turn on the closed captions for the people. No, no, I don't see no closed captions. So when I try to uh, put it on the Facebook, it'll probably put up the caption so people can read. It's okay. So we're live, and welcome to Conversations with Javon. First question for you is, who is Latravious?
Um, I think that I've been many people in my lifetime. Like I think, throughout life we transition as people, and we grow and we change. And I think, um, Latravius today is an advocate for my community and a soldier for Black trans equity and Black trans lives and Black trans liberation. Um, I think I am my own version of what I consider a superhero. That's who I strive to be. Those are my goals, and that's what I'm working at.
Okay, all right. Come on for the superhero. So what's your superhero name?
Mother of the Travies.
Okay, all right, all
Give
right.
it a gun.
Yes, yes, yes. So because I've known you for a while, and I know what you do, where you come from, and your background history. I would like for you to share some of that with our viewers. So, who is Miss Terry Man Made?
So, like I say, like throughout life, we get to be different people, and one of the people that I have had the pleasure of being is Miss Terry Man Made, and Miss Terry Man Made is a character that I created, a persona that I created as a rap artist, and so I would say Miss Terry Man Made is a rapper, a writer, and very much a character. One thing I love about Miss Terry Man Made is like she had no boundaries. She could be unrealistic. She could be like completely silly and crazy and serious at the same time. So it's definitely a character. It was Mysterio Man Made was never intended to be taken seriously, but I think as an actor in the role, I may have been convincing at times, but at heart, I've always been a different person than I represented in my art. So I would definitely want to classify Miss Terry Man as a rapper, but not a real person. The difference is Latravious is a real person. I feel like Latravious is a humanized version and a realistic version of what Miss Terry Man wanted to represent.
Thank you for that. So, uh, what got you into music, art?
Well, I originally got into music because I wanted to be noticed as a writer. It was my dream at one time to become a famous writer, and I came up with this kind of like plot that I was going to use shock value, which was rap music, to kind of like get my name out in the public and build my career. I wanted to be able to write for other artists, and I thought that by creating music and showing other artists that I was creative and talented, I could get that opportunity. Um, but um, it wasn't necessarily working out that way. I started to build an audience as an artist, but being an artist was never at the forefront of my heart and passion. So it was easy for me to find other interests within entertainment, um, to sink my teeth into, and leave the actual creation of the music behind.
So it's it's like this, the music is where you got your start into writing, or did the writing lead into you rapping individually on your own?
Well, yeah, because I kind of figured out somewhere in early elementary, early middle school, late elementary, early middle school, that rap music was just poetry. I linked the two, and I realized that I could rap, and it was kind of easy for me. But people were always shocked because rap at the time, it kind of really still is so male and masculine energy dominated. Even at the time, even the women in the music industry were very like masculine, and women like Lil Kim were rare and like hard to find. So for me to dip my toe in the arena was such a different look for rap music that it's like it caught the audience by a big surprise. And before I knew it, people were into it and looking for it, and expecting it, and they were not allowing me to sit behind the scene. It's like they were calling me to the forefront. So it was rap music. Really, it wasn't what I came for, but it was a big impact on my life.
Oh wow, that's shocking.
Yeah, when I first started doing advocacy, it really came from me trying to build an audience for my music. When we did our first wig drive, the point in the very first wig drive was us to try to get a room full of people who would be interested in my music in the same space and get them to know about it. Meanwhile, we're thinking that if we do a wig drive, we can get that audience in the room. But we ended up doing the wig drive, and like the music became second because of the work became so important. We had our first wig drive, and it changed my life. It changed really all of our lives, and the direction that we were going.
Yeah. So um your first wig drive was in New York, or was it in Florida?
No, I've never done any advocacy work in Florida. I did all of my advocacy work here in New York. I think I had to leave Florida and go to New York, a totally different place, and start over and be new and fresh and be able to see myself and present myself differently to really get into the work that I'm doing. I think when I was in Florida, I could never see myself, my possibilities. And being in New York around people who didn't know my past, my flaws, who had never seen all my failures, I was able to feel reinvented. I don't think I was unable to reinvent in Florida. I was, for me personally, my inner struggle was more realistic in Florida. The normal surroundings of my failures and faults made me feel like I lived in that space. And when I got to New York, it was different. It was new. I could walk into space and say I'm an astronaut, and people wouldn't know the difference. So that gave me empowerment and vision into what I could create, and I was able to modify myself into something that I could be proud of.
Okay, okay. So, if it's okay with you, can we talk about where you came from originally and what you were doing, whether it was community work or did you work at a fast food restaurant? Like what was it like where you were from? Like where exactly are you from?
Okay, I'm originally from Orlando, Florida. Um, and when I when I first transitioned, I lost hope for dreams. Like everything that I thought I was going to work for before I transitioned. Once I transitioned, for some reason it clicked off. A lot of trans people do that. They transition and they believe that the dreams and aspirations aren't possible anymore. And I was an example of that. I spent my whole life like in school wanting to be a lawyer and getting like amazing grades. And I graduated early, and I went on. I took college courses in high school, and all of these things, these preparation that I was setting myself up for an amazing life in my mind. And then once I transitioned, it was like I didn't think any of that was possible, and I felt like I only had crime as option to survive. At first I was resistant to survival sex because I felt as a big person that I wouldn't be able to profit or benefit. I learned a lot I learned along the way that I was far from true. But I had to work on my confidence. So at first I didn't feel comfortable in survival sex. So I was a stunt queen. I was one of them girls out there doing all kind of craft work, trying to, pull up, dollars out of nothing, old receipts and bad checks and all that kind of craziness. And that once I started getting in trouble with that, I left it alone and I moved on to sex work. Some old queen finally convinced me that it's a place for me in sex work. So I jumped into sex work, and I started making money. And to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of regrets when it comes to sex work because even though I don't recommend it, I learned so much. And I will say that sex work is work, and sex work can be empowering, and it can build your confidence as a woman or as a person in your own sexuality. I'm not recommending that people get into sex work. I'm just saying the bad rap that it gets in the public is not necessarily the real of it. But survival sex work is much different than just sex work. You can be a stripper and that can be sex work. But when you are, selling sex to put grits on in the pot and lights in the ceiling, it's a different scenario. What you have to do, the things you have to, lower yourself to that you don't want to, become different. When you're in survival sex work, you'll find yourself in predicaments and doing things that you know you shouldn't do, taking risks that you know that you shouldn't take, going out with people, meeting people in weird places that you shouldn't, all kind of dangerous shit. So once I started making money in sex work, I wanted to take that money and do something with it. I knew that I didn't want to do sex work for a long time, and I knew that I needed a plan to take this opportunity and do something with it. So um, me and my roommates came up with like a plan where we kind of like bonded together and had each other's backs and like started moving like as a unit. And once we did that, that kind of like made it easier for all of us to kind of like survive. Because if we weren't able to, cover something or acquire something or put a meal on the table that day or cover a bill that we had two other people like having our back. And it made the sex work, the survival sex work, a little bit safer because knowing that I had somebody to have my back, created more opportunity for me to say no when I was uncomfortable. It created an opportunity for me to turn down risks that made me feel unsafe. As opposed to when you don't have those things, sometimes you find yourself doing things you know are dangerous and are risky, and they don't always have good result.
Yeah, that's like scary. Like it's really like, risky behavior, but when you have to engage in sex work for survival, that whole mentality of, this not being safe is not in your mind at that time. It's like,
Right.
I got to get this money because I got to pay this bill. I need to keep my phone on. So yeah, that is really, really important for people to know that, sex work is not, just something that, people just automatically just decided to do. Some people, this is like the end for them, but some people also are like, I love sex work. The money's good and I prefer to do this. It's off the books and I don't have to do my taxes and all this other stuff. And I'm making ends meet. So, um
You know,
here.
like I personally I love and I hate sex work. I have to say I respect and love sex work because there were days that without sex work I don't know where I would have been. There were a lot of nights that I wouldn't have had a roof over my head or a meal or been able to provide for myself or my family without sex work. So I respect and I love the fact that there's always a space for a girl to find rescue for herself. So I'm here for it. But I hate sex work because as trans people, we have been reduced to sex and sexualized in a way that when we show up, if we're not sexy, we're not respected. And it's like, I don't want to have to pull a breast out or pull a thigh out in order to get your attention when I'm a fucking college graduate, and I'm telling you my experience and I'm giving you my knowledge and I'm educating you. I don't want you to be tuned out because I'm not va enough or my makeup isn't polished enough or my hair isn't human enough or whatever the standards of presentation for trans women is at the moment. It's great to be beautiful. It's great to be appealing and sexy. I'm here for all that, and I love to see beautiful trans women and trans men, at that matter. But at the same time, I'm uncomfortable with the fact that when I show up, if I'm not exuding sex, all of a sudden I'm not relevant and what I think is not worth hearing. I remember when the lady in the White House, I forget her name, I don't want to mess it up, so I won't even try. But it was a trans woman in the White House, and she was first put in her position or elected or whatever happened. And I remember the community was saying, "Oh my God, she's not this and she's not that and she's not this and she's not that." And I was like, we have a person of our experience in the room making decisions. We've never had that. We've always had to rely on people who don't understand our experience to fight and rally in those rooms for us. And now we have someone who directly understands our experience. And instead of embracing and uplifting the woman, we want to talk about whether her breasts are perky enough and if they're new enough and who did them and dot 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 and if it's shaped like this and if it wiggle like this, and it's like that's so stupid. We've never even thought to ask where did she get her education? What are her thoughts on Roe v. Wade? Like, what is she doing for racism? None of that was like relevant. It was like, are her hips, Oshkosh bagage, what the fuck ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hate that. And because transness has been centered in sex work for so long in the general public and even in cis heterosexual America, if we are not serving sex, we don't even matter.
Well,
It's
you
like,
know what?
look
I'm
at
glad you
Caitlyn
brought that
Jenner.
up. Thank you for bringing that up.
Caitlyn Jenner, like they you know sexualized her, and we don't even know what Caitlyn thinks. Like we don't even know what space. Like I feel like they sexualized her and pulled her into their space, and she don't even know what it's like to be a trans woman. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm here for the sex and for the sex work because it saves lives. It saves my life. I've watched it save lives, but I'm also against it because I want to be able to show up as a smart, intelligent, capable, experienced person without having to pull out breasts and pull up thighs and have a 12-inch pump on to be respected.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm here for that. Thank you, thank you. And so, since you brought up, uh, you know, reproductive, right? I want to take this to another level when we talk about reproductive and children, right? You are a mother. So
I
let's
am.
talk about that. Let's touch on that. Like what does that mean to you being a mother, and how many kids do you have? Or should I say how many kids you claim, right?
Well, see, here's the thing. First of all, I don't count the kids. It's against the rules because when you count the kids, you get yourself in trouble. So I don't count the kids. But I will say this: I'm a mother to many, even those people that I would even say that I wouldn't personally name off the top of my head per se. I'm a mother to everybody, that every LGBT person I encounter that needs a mother figure. That's all I require. I understand, as people of trans experience, we are often tossed out in the street by our loved ones, and I'm just collecting. I'm collecting them because I know that that's why I said I want to be a superhero, not because I'm not humble or I'm full of myself or I think I'm amazing, but because I know my community needs it. And I know that even though it sounds like an impossible task, somebody's got to show up and do it because they continuously throw our community, our children, our babies into the street. And if we aren't there to collect them, who's going to do it? So that's why I'm a mother to many, to ones I couldn't even tell you that I'm a mother to. I'm a mother in any space that I need to be a mother in, anywhere that I need to lean into my motherness. That's what I do. So there are people that I have encountered once or twice in life who call me mother, who respect me as a mother because they know in those one or two encounters I was the mother they needed for the moment. So that's how I look at myself. I'm not like I'm no, I don't give birth personally to anybody, and I'm not replacing anybody's actual birth mother. That's not my job. My job is to make sure that when you can't reach that person for whatever reason it could be they could be passed on, they could be not speaking to you, they could be deep in the church and don't want us to do with you. It don't matter what the reason is. You can come to me.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So I just want to say from my experience and knowing you and have been in your home that you remind me, and your home reminds me of how it used to be in the 80s and the 90s. From being around Pepper LaBeija, being around Paris Dupree and Dorian Corey, your home with the people that are there with you, like that's your family that you made, and that took me back. Like, wow, it's kind of like Pose, like a modern day Pose, right? And
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow, like you are literally taking care of the community. Like you literally are, like the hub to them. And it just put me in my feelings when I first went to the house, because I was like, that's why I didn't stay too long. I didn't tell you that, but I was getting the the feelings from how it used to be back in the day and how that's what's missing today. The authentic love and the just family presence. Like I can tell you that from being around you and I'm gonna mention the kids, right? Tam, right?
Mhm.
Um, Kylexis, Gia. I'm even gonna throw Bugs in there and his husband, right? Um, I I just feel like, oh wait, I forgot one. I forgot one. Um, Sunshine. See, that's what you forget the kids and they get mad at you. But yeah, but those are the original kids, right? That I know that have welcomed me and called me uncle, right? And just to see them and how they are with you and how they embraced me, not even knowing me, right? And when I see them outside of being with you, they still have the utmost respect for me, right? And
Mhm.
that's how it used to be back in the day, you know. So I want to applaud you for that. I want to applaud you and thank you for holding community like that, right? Because you could have closed your door. You could have been like, child, you better go on, but you didn't, you know. So you 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 held space probably even when you didn't want to, but you knew that they didn't have nowhere else to go, or they didn't want to go to the space where they had, because they knew that with you were not going to discriminate against them, right? So I want to applaud you for that, and I want to thank you for that, because I I felt so good coming over there and just sitting on the couch, and I was like, oh man, it just took me back. It just took
You
me
know,
back, and whew,
watching Pose, I'm so glad you mentioned Pose, because watching Pose was something that all of those people you named, we all sat around the living room and Alexis cooked dinner, and we would watch Pose every week and literally be in tears watching every episode because it reflected our experience so much. Um, you're absolutely right. I have been known in my community for opening my doors to my community and giving them a space to stay. Even when they, like you said, had other places they could have went, I've always known the importance of safe space, and I've always wanted them to feel safe and wanted them to be in safe space. Now I'm gonna be honest with you, Mama is getting old, and I'm getting tired, and living in a house with all my children is no longer my ideal circumstance, and I'm on a path to something different. I would never just leave them, but I am working on something different as I get a little older. I do want a little more separation and privacy. But that's one of the reasons why the advocacy is so important, because I do want to be able to create a space that is safe and affirming for my community, a space where they can go and we stand guard. I'm sick of these spaces that are created by people who don't live in our experience and they don't know how to make us safe. They think that a bed and a roll of tissue at night is enough, and it's not. The people that house us, the people that are supposed to support us, have to be affirming and supportive in their motion, their action, and the way they treat us, the way they encounter with us. And a lot of spaces just don't do that. They can say LGBT high school or club or whatever they want to call it, but when you get into these spaces and these heterosexual cisgender people are at the top of the ladder, it does not trickle down well for us, and especially Black trans people. It's like, even in white queer spaces, Black trans people are not welcome, and even in these organizations that are supposed to be community-based organizations, when we are under the umbrella, under the scope, I say the gatekeepers of white trans people or white LGBT people, black transness is not, empowered, uplifted, or even welcomed. So being a mother to the community is everything to me. It's my identity. It's the reason why I've in my this stage of my life, I've transitioned into Mother Latravious. It's built from my idea, a combination of people that I admire: Marsha P. Johnson, Mother Teresa. Those are my people. I'm a little bit of Marsha P. Johnson. I'm a little bit of Mother Teresa. Mix it all in with some Martin Luther King. Boom. There you go.
Yes. Yes. I receive it. I take it. I receive it because I
You know,
felt it.
I used to call myself Marsha Luther King.
Okay. Okay.
That was
I'm
a
here
little
for
nickname
it.
I used
I'm
to
here
call
for it
myself.
because I know what I felt when I came to the house and whew, it was so much love and positive energy. And I was just like, wow, like this is what we need more of. Right. And so I can tell you that you are doing it. You are it. Right. And what that means is you have evolved into what we had back in the day, probably without even knowing that that's what you did, right? You're not a part of the ballroom scene, but you did what was done back in the day in the ballroom scene, and it it was just so powerful being in your home. And I wasn't able to share that with you, but I'm sharing it with you today, and just to let you know to keep pushing, right? Whatever it is that you're striving for, that you want, and tell them to get out and go about their business so you can have your privacy. But I can tell you, you're gonna be like, Tam, go get me some water. And you're gonna be like, oh, Tam ain't here. Kyle Alexis, bring me something to eat. Oh, Kyle Alexis ain't here.
You know, Tam moved back to Florida, and it was very crazy because out of all my kids, Tam has always been the one to be like right under me. She's like, my arm almost. And when she moved back to Florida to try to like, she wanted some separation and wanted to try to build her own life, which is a great thing, which I really want all my kids to do. So I'm really proud of her. But honestly, at first it was difficult because I was used to having her always here, and not just like go get me some water, but just like she was my ride or die. Like we watched the same TV programs together, ate out the same popcorn bowl. Like we were like ride or die twins almost. So it was difficult to go from being a person that was attached to somebody else all the time, all day, to not having that person there and like having that bowl of popcorn by yourself. It was something I had to get used to. But the great thing about Tam and about a lot of my kids is that um, they're beginning to now understand what hard work leads to, and they've begun to do the work and see themselves as um, the possibilities. One of the things I've been preaching since Thanksgiving is the evolution of the butterfly. I learned so much about how butterflies transition and how they become. And I've been preaching to all of my children, don't just become. Like whatever it is that you're searching for and dreaming of, chase it, go after it, don't wait for it, become. Like, don't just wait for something great to happen. I hate the mentality of you're going to be like discovered in the mall by some model scout and you're going to be all over the world and be the next time. Like, no, no, you're not. You're not. Go to school, get an education, chase your dreams, be successful, but chase your success. Like I've been really preaching that. I feel like As trans people, that's the last stage of our transition. Once we start to get the look and the acceptance and the affirmation, we then have to become what we're really set in our destiny, what we're really here to be, our true purpose.
You got me over here all emotional because this is like all that I instill in my kids and in the community that
I told
comes
my
into my
children,
space.
I told my children at Thanksgiving, I don't even remember that I told them, I was explaining to them that transness is your superpower. It's the reason why they're so afraid of us, because once you begin to transition and you feel successful in your transition, you learn that whatever I want to be, I can become. I don't have to be what they're allowing me to be. So it's like, yes, I can be a woman and an astronaut. You know what I mean? If I want to be an astronaut, and transitioning makes you, when you successfully transition, you realize that I can create whatever person I want to be. And it opens new possibilities. It's almost like when you're in grade school, they tell you anything you want to be, you can be when you grow up. It's like once you transition successfully and become affirmed in it for yourself, you start to think, I can be anything. I could be an astronaut. I could be a skyscraper or a painter or build buildings or climb walls or mountains or anything I want to be because I've done the impossible. Because you have to remember, because you know this as a person with trans experience, the only thing you're guaranteed to hear as a trans person is you cannot. I promise you, that's the experience that we can all share. I don't care where you are growing up in the world as a trans person. The one thing I know you will get to hear in your life is what you cannot do, and they're wrong. They're wrong about that because you
I
can.
tell you, I've never heard those words. I cannot. I've been privileged enough to have uh, several parents growing up. My biological parents, I've had godparents, extended family, um, LGBTQ family. Uh, Janae was my mother, and people can tell you that Janae slapped the mess out of me.
Oh
Right?
no.
I I made her late for work, and I got slapped. Right? Um, when I tell you that I am from Janae, and we had ups and downs and ins and out all the way to her last days. We were like talking, not talking. Um, I missed her surgery, and she was mad at me, and I was texting and calling and texting and calling, and she didn't respond. And I was like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And instead of me going to her, mind you, I had keys and all. I waited for her to text and call me back, and that's where I made my mistake. And so a lot of people knew she was mad at me. And there was people with her at that time that knew that she was mad at me. I was texting and calling them like, "Hey, what's going on? What should I do?" They weren't responding, right? Because obviously she was like, "Don't you text him? Don't you answer the phone?" Because she taught me tough love. She taught me to use my own mind and to do what I feel in my heart. And because I was waiting for her to call me instead of me taking it upon myself, I had keys. I could have just went to her house and made sure that she was okay. Because what if she would have passed out? I knew she had surgery that day, and I couldn't go with her. So instead of just waiting, I should have just went. And ever since that day, and like I made a big scene and everything. After that, I went to our house, knocking on the door. I was crying at the door. I was like, Mom, let me in. Mom, I'm sorry. And she was like, no. She was like, you messed up. Like you had keys to my house. Like when I tell you she taught me tough love, like when you say that you love someone and they are family, you move mountains for them, and you don't let anyone put no second guess in your heart, in your mind, and you don't allow nobody to rent space in your head. And I didn't. I messed up, and to this day I own it. And I told her, and she said to me this. She said, "I'm gonna always love you, but I'm never gonna forget how you made me feel, and you will not get that chance to have me depend on you and put me in that situation again." And yeah, and to this day, I hold on to that, and I move with that same energy, because people do me dirty all the time, and I do nothing but love up on them, hold space for them, and do the best I can by them. And I just turn the other cheek, and people are like, "Oh, how can you do that?" Because I was given a second chance. I will still love them from a distance, but I'm never, ever going to forget what they did to me and how they made me feel. And they will never get that chance to do that again. And so I've learned that, and I sometimes you have to deal with people from a distance. So uh, I I just felt everything from coming to your house, because that's how Janae was with us. We were in Jersey. Janae had one room. It was Mark. It was Tyra, right? Tyra stayed with her on different years. I stayed with her. She had her significant other staying with her. But Mark was the one who lived with her the most. And when I tell you, my brothers and sisters, we are like this because of Janae, like literally like this. And then when she moved from Jersey to the Bronx, then we got new siblings, and we was overprotected. We was like, this is our mother, not your mother. We don't know where y'all kids came from. But then it took me to step back and say, hey, I love this woman so much, and I see what I see in her. So these new kids also see this. So who am I to be overprotective and be like, no, that's my mom, not yours? And I also see that with your kids too. Like, you know, it just took me there, and I was like, it's rare that you find this in 2022, and I just have to applaud you, and I just have to say thank you for
You.
holding space and holding family and just being there, not just for them and yourself, but also for me, because you didn't have to befriend me as your brother.
Of course I did. You know what? That's so funny, Javon, because I feel like you actually befriended me because I was very new in the community and I didn't know much. And like I said, I didn't go to school for nonprofit or for advocacy work or anything or for social work or anything like that. I went to school for business. So when I first walked into the doors, green and not knowing anything, you told me a lot. You taught me a lot. I followed you, your advice through a lot of things, and it worked out very well for me, I would say. So I hear you say I befriended you, but I really think that you befriended me. It can be difficult stepping into a community that's already so established and being from out of town and not necessarily welcomed by other advocates and people who were, like, you're not from New York, what are you doing? I've even had people like other like advocates, I guess, call me and tell me, like, get out of town, like it's like in the movies. Like, you're not from around here, what are you doing? Like, what? So I really appreciate your friendship. I think it's a very it's a source to me being grounded in New York, having you as a friend and somebody I could call on, and who I often did call on when I was nervous or unsure what to do, or some organization was, fucking me over, how they do. So I think, yeah, I appreciate you being my friend, offering your friendship authentically to me in those situations. Because you didn't have to do that. You could have been like a lot of other people and be like, I don't know you, girl. Whatever, going on.
Did they really be like, I don't know you? Did they really, really?
I mean, like, I'm not directly in those words, but basically, it was hard to get the attention. I was here for a long time before people started actually recognizing me and inviting me in, and even get offered me a seat at the table. I was here, a good little while doing my thing. It was to a point with me, I had pretty much given up on being a part of the community in that way. I just knew what I was going to do, and I was just going to do it with or without, the partnership and support of my community or not. But I don't even look at it as a negative thing. I think it's a rite of passage. I think that the community was waiting on me to prove that I was here for the fight. I think that's what it was, because I feel very received. I feel like my community and my other leaders are supportive of me, and they support the work I do. But I think that it just took a little bit of me showing them that I was here for the fight in the long haul, and they began to get behind me. But at first, I felt alone, and you was my only friend.
Oh, well, thank you, thank you. So I think what it is that there's so many people in this work and doing this work, and maybe those people that you encountered wanted to make sure that you was really about this work and not about self, because a lot of people are making this about themselves and not about community. And so that's exactly why this interview we're having is about you. We want to know you, because we know the Brooklyn Ghost Project, right? We know that you have the groups. We know that you have the wig drive, but what makes you keep going and have this drive, and where you came from? So this interview is letting people know about you and who you are, right? Because sometimes they don't look at us as regular people. They just look at us as, okay, well, you have to do this, and I need help, and you have to help me because this is what your organization say that you have to do, and if you don't, then I'm gonna blast you on social media, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna go on live. But we're regular people, right? And we decided to take on this task of stepping up and holding space for those that don't have it. So this is why I said, let me just humanize and make this interview about you so that we can learn who you are and why you're doing this.
Well, I'm gonna say most of us do this work unselfishly, but me, I'm selfish. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because this work does it for me. Like, I totally get when people say do something you're passionate about, something you love, and it won't seem like work. I work myself to the bone, day after day after day. Some days I don't. Some days I'm 7 days a week, all day long, working, meetings, figuring it out. Sometimes I'm even in meetings on Sundays, trying to figure it all out. But at the end of the day, nothing makes me more excited than putting black trans bodies in a space in survival and celebrating and bringing them in unity together. When we had Transgiving this year, and those black trans women saw that other black trans woman across the room that she hadn't seen since the pandemic started, and they ran across and hugged and grabbed each other, that kind of stuff brings tears to my eyes because I know what it's like. And I know I'm here for the connection of it all. Nothing is more exciting to me than to come home on Wednesday evening after support group and have had an amazing group. Today we had an amazing group. I left on a high, on an energy. I was excited and happy. We like almost singing down the street like white women, like like that was me today. Like that's the happiness, and excitement I get from seeing my community in a healing, safe space. It means that much to me. So I'm unselfish because it takes a mass majority of my time, but I'm selfish because the result, the end, the connections, I get a high, I get a energy off of that I don't come down. There have been times we've done a support group and held each other and cried together over stories from our past. And it's so healing, Javon. It's almost like being washed or bathed in some holiness or some spiritual moment just to be in that space with my sisters and brothers and to heal together is so powerful for me that I feel like I'm almost selfish in that. I spend the whole year getting ready for Transgiving just so I can see black trans people hug and hold and love on one another. That's for me.
Yes, yes. And I want to say that I look forward to Transgiving, and the feeling of seeing so many trans people in one space. You gonna need a bigger space this year, by the way,
We're looking
because
for it right now.
yeah, because it's getting bigger and bigger, and those stairs was a killer. But we actually have been talking about this, and we need our own space, right? Separate from these cis organizations, like just one place. And I this work that you do is so important. It is so important. Like, I don't even know how many people you had today, but I know there was one group you had about 40 people. And
Yeah.
this is like almost every Wednesday.
Yeah, this Wednesday, I believe we do count every week. It averages about 25. This Wednesday, I think we had 24 people today in the group. But we have our biggest number was 48 people. And we have one, and that was, and I mean, to me that was almost like I just wanted to like cheer because it was unbelievable on a Wednesday in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day. But the work we're doing is so important to our community. I get it. I know why they show up. And I tell them when they show up, I show up for the same reason you do. It may be my group, I may be the ED and all that fancy shit, but I'm here. I'm a black trans woman in this group for the same reason as every other black trans woman in the group or every black trans person in the group. I need the support. I'm here for the group. I'm here for the love. I'm here for the affirmation. I'm here for the safety. I want to share my stories and my experience with you. I want to hear your stories and your experience. I want to meet you in a space of safe, affirming love for my culture, for everything I am and I stand for. And I want to be authentically myself without feeling like you're judging me or you've stopped loving me because I've shown up in my truth.
Yes, yes. Well, I want to tell you, I show up for Kylex's cooking because I'm not sharing stories. I'm not sharing experiences. So I just want to let you know that previously, not in your group, but I was attending a group, just trying to be supportive and show new um, trans people that it's possible to be a older trans person and someone who started their transition 1998, right? um and I was sharing in the group, and what I shared in the group went outside of the group, and a lot of people knew my personal business, and then it got back to another person, then it went to another person, and I was like, wait a minute, how do y'all know this when this was supposed to be a private closed group? So
Uh-huh.
I stopped going to groups, I stopped participating in groups, and as a leader in the community, uh, that I was deemed, because of my age and as well as because I started Princess Janae Place, that and plus, so what a lot of people don't know is that with Kim Watson many years ago, that I started the trans masculine group in New York at Community Healthcare Network. So from there, that's how they deemed me a leader in the community, and I traveled to Philly and DC and just held space. And then I became the president, the New York president of Black Trans Men Inc. And it just evolved from there, right? So I was sharing stories in these groups, and I became vulnerable. And then that's when, you know, people was like, oh, he's soft. I don't know how he's running groups, and I don't know how he's doing this when he needs help himself and all that. But what they don't understand is that we are normal people and we carry a heavy load because we have the weight of the community on our shoulders. I don't sleep. And my wife will tell you, I'm always on my phone. Why don't you put your phone down? Why do you have your phone? It's after hours. Who's talking? Who are you talking to now? And for some reason, I don't know why, but people wait until the wee hours of the morning to say, hey, Javon, I don't have no place to stay. Who can I call? I'm homeless at 1 o'clock in the morning, at 10 o'clock at night. I don't know what they was doing in the daytime, but I'm supposed to be asleep. I have a whole life. And the reason why I answer my phone and why I answer my text messages is because I've lost 4 people to suicide. But at the same time, when do I get to breathe? I can count on one hand how many people I can call at 1 o'clock in the morning or text at 1 o'clock in the morning and be like, I just need to talk because I'm going through it. And it's like we not supposed to go through it, right? Because we run businesses. We supposed to always be on what they call it on the 10 or whatever they call it. We always supposed to know the answers, all the answers. And we have to help. Newsflash, the only person that you are accountable to is yourself. And remember, I told you, you are only in competition with who you was yesterday. So don't worry about what other people are doing. You just make sure you got all your stuff together, all your ducks are in the line, and you just keep pushing because you are doing it. You are holding it
Thank you
down, and
so
I am
much.
so proud of you.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me because um, when I first started, I was really unsure how it was going to work out for me and what I was going to really be able to accomplish in this space. And these last few years have been great for the Ghost Project. We've gotten to grow and venture into new spaces. And I'm really hoping that our partnership with not just Princess Janae, but with NITAG and CK Life and um, um, what's now this organization called Road, Bridges, all of those organizations. I'm really hoping that these partnerships with these Black trans-led organizations can really come together and build something powerful and show the Black trans community that if we can, bond and come together and make something powerful, the community itself will entail do the same.
I
Those
I
are my
I
hopes and
I just still
dreams.
have to say that, I'm just so proud of you. And I remember when you was like, Javon, I don't think we're gonna make the wig drive. I don't have this, I don't have that. Oh my goodness, the Transgiving, we don't have a sponsor. I'm like, it's gonna come. Breathe. It's gonna come. Oh, but the stuff didn't come in the mail, and I breathe. It's gonna come.
People don't know. The first 3 years we did the wig drive, we couldn't raise the money to cover it. So we raised whatever we could, and we would put our own money, in to make it what we wanted it to be. We had a vision for the wig drive, and we were trying to get as close to that vision as possible. But luckily, the wig drive grew and the sponsorship grew, and it began to pay for itself, and it actually began to see a turnaround and to see it raise money for our organization the last 2 years. But before that, there were plenty of times where me, Tam, and Jill will be pulling in what we got left out of our own pockets, and let me just be honest, calling on old dates, whatever we had to do to make sure that we were able to pull this together for our community. Because that 1 year we did it, we saw how important it was, and we could not let our community down. So even though we couldn't get other organizations with millions of dollars to help us, even though they would laugh in our face, it would almost like put gas in our car. When we would get no in spaces that we know we should have gotten yes, we would be like, well, we're gonna show you, we're gonna do it without you. We want you to see that we don't need you. And now those same people are calling us like, why didn't you call me and tell me about the wig drive? Can I still send my check? It's a different kind of thing now. It's a different
See,
thing.
and that's why I told you it's gonna come, because when they see what you're doing, they want to be a part of it, because they before they didn't know what you was capable of, but I saw your potential, because I saw your heart. Like I said, when I came to the house that first time, it was when I felt it and I knew it was gonna work. Everything that you touch was gonna happen, because this is coming from here. The work that you're doing is real. It's not performative. It's not, to boost who you are.
Hmm.
It's because you know that it's making a difference.
I know how important it was in my life to have figures or trans people in my life who were my mentors and my guides, and that encouraged me and believed in me and pushed me when I needed it the most. And I know that our community is absent those figures, and we have to step in place and be that for our community. Like, I don't think that we have the option of or choice to not be. You know what I mean? Like, we need heroes. And whether we feel like we're capable of being heroes or not, we're going to have to sit in position and accept our role and be what we got to be and do what we got to do. It's like, whether you feel like saving a life or not, you're going to have to save some lives. Period. So that's why at 1 o'clock in the morning when they call you, I know what you're saying. You should be asleep, but you got to put on your cape and go do your work, because that's your destiny. That's why we're here. Point, purpose.
So I just want to say thank you. I want to be mindful of your time. We have this hour, and thank you for allowing us to get to know who you are, and also sharing a little bit of the Ghost Project. And so, if we could close out with um, what can we expect from you as an individual, and any last words that you want to say?
What can you expect from me? I am preparing. I'm in the very early stages of preparing to run for council member in my district. I'm excited about that. That is my next adventure. Um, I'm my organization getting better funding and more supporting resources from organizations is my number one thing. But I also want to get myself in a position to make change in my community. So I want to run for a council member in my area. Now I'm telling you, we are in the very early stages of it, so it may not be as near in the future as we would like to see, but be expecting to see my name on a ballot really soon.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And we'll see you during Pride.
All right. I need to call you anyway. I love you.
All right. Oh yeah, you know I love you. And thank you so much. And you can call me right after this. And everyone that's watching, please subscribe and go please follow Latravious and the Brooklyn Ghost Project,
Ghost Project.
and stay up on everything that they're doing. Can you let them know what your Cash App is?
My cash up is $ Brooklyn Ghost Project.
Yours. Okay. Well, send it to the Brooklyn Ghost Project. There you go. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching, and everyone be safe and have a good night.
Bye bye.